Christo, talk to him slow. I turn her up to a pack. Best friend told her she better get back. Okay. Hey. I turn her up to a pack. Her best friend told her she better get back.
Telltale's The Walking Dead has been regarded as one of the greatest video games of all time. Not of its decade, not of its console generation, but all time. And not only am I inclined to agree with said takes, I am prepared to make one of my own. I believe that Lee Everett is one of the greatest fictional characters ever, on par with characters like Harry Potter, Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker, Mickey Mouse, SpongeBob SquarePants, etc. So it's safe to say that Lee, alongside Clementine, the 9-year-old girl he finds in the treehouse once the zombie apocalypse first begins, they are some of my favorite fictional characters of all time. And the story only gets better with its phenomenal side characters. The commercial fisherman family man Kenny alongside his wife Katja and his son Duck. The militant and ultimately mentally unstable Air Force officer Lily alongside her father Larry, who meets one of the most tragic fates in video game history in episode 2. Carly, the Atlanta news reporter that becomes a slight love interest for Lee in the first few episodes of season 1. And Krista and Omi, the slightly dysfunctional but fully expecting couple that we meet at the end of episode 3. And that's just a fraction of the amazing characters that we meet on the first season of Telltale's The Walking Dead. Now, other than the eccentric characters, one of the main selling points for Telltale's games is its choose your own story format, where you're given multiple choices and whatever choice you choose may or may not affect the storyline going forward. For example, one of the first major decisions you make in the first season is whether to save Carly, the Atlanta news reporter I told you about earlier, or Doug. Now, I don't know too much about Doug. I don't know anyone that knows anything about Doug. I know he was an IT physician, but every time I replay this game, I save Carly. I'll be honest with you, man. Doug's character is mildly uninteresting to me, and once I play this game again, I will most likely save Carly again, as she has a 10 times better character, but I digress. I absolutely adore the choose your own story format in video games. It's probably one of my favorite types of video games to play. I've already made a video on Life is Strange. I have to make a video on The Wolf Among Us. I absolutely love that game. But there's been some discourse surrounding games like this in the choose your own story format, raising the question, do your choices even matter? Seeing that most of these games have their endings picked out and you can't really change them. If you really can't see the effects that your choices have in a game like Telltale's The Walking Dead, especially when it comes to your survival group or Clementine or whatever, you might be blind. And not to make fun of people or say, hey, you're just playing the game wrong or anything like that, because that's not my bag. But the choices you make on this game absolutely matters. You choose how this character is perceived, not only by the people surrounding him, but by yourself as well. There are points where you choose who lives and who dies, and yes, their fate might be written out already, but I promise you, the storyline is 10 times different with Carly than it is with Doug, or with Doug than it is with Carly. You can choose to make Lee Everett one of the biggest assholes in gaming history, but when it's time to save Clementine in episode 5, you'll be by yourself. You can go the route I went and be by Kenny's side throughout all of the nonsensical crash outs throughout the first season and still tell him hard truths that no one else would tell him. I talked him into stopping the train when most of the people I watched on YouTube beat the shit out of him. I stepped up and made sure Duck didn't turn when Katja, and Kenny couldn't do it. Talking to him when I could, making sure he was alright even when he didn't want to talk and blew up in my face. Listen, I was a good friend to Kenny, and you can be that to every single character in this game, whether they like you at first or not. And by the end of the game, when it was time to save Clementine, Kenny was by my side. Omi was by my side. Krista was by my side. I dropped Ben off at the mansion. I'm gonna be real. He was too much of a liability. But that's another great part about this game. You can make that choice. If you have a choice to chop off a liability, you can. You can be a complete asshole to Clementine and not care whether she lives or dies, or you can be one of the greatest pseudo fathers ever. I chose the latter because I absolutely love Clementine. Listen, the blank will remember that does not pop up on your top left for no reason. The lessons of morality that Lee teaches Clementine throughout the first season of The Walking Dead. Him teaching her how to protect herself. I was one of the people who chose to tell her that sometimes people do things they wouldn't regularly do to protect the people that they care about. All of this shit matters. And knowing that Lee Everett's fate was already sealed, I had Clementine shoot him. Because with how good of a character he was, he did not deserve to go out a walker. And to end this video, I'll say this. Much like Lee Everett in Telltale's The Walking Dead, no matter how hard you fight it, no matter what you do, no matter how hard you try, your fate is already sealed. We all gotta go. But only you choose your story and only you decide how you're remembered. My name is Micah Clark. I am Milk. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.